In the glittering world of New York's high society, a chance encounter at a prestigious charity ball ignites a firestorm of hidden pasts and long-held prejudices. When a black hotel cleaning lady enters with her daughter, a powerful matriarch's disdainful reaction unveils a secret that shatters reputations and reveals the extraordinary talent and resilience of a woman scorned. This is the story of how a single dance can rewrite destinies and how the most underestimated among us can hold the key to exposing deep-seated injustice. The billionaire didn't want to dance with anyone until the black cleaning lady walked in with her daughter, and everything changed forever. What nonsense is this? How dare this woman bring a child to the most exclusive ball in New York? Eleanor Vanderbilt's voice cut through the air of the Golden Ballroom like a razor. Her eyes fixed on Naomi Williams, 32, who had just entered the grand ballroom of the Astoria Hotel with her 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Naomi shouldn't have been there. As a hotel housekeeper, her shift had ended at 6 o'clock in the evening, 2 hours before the event began. But Lily had forgotten her favorite doll in the women's dressing room during an earlier visit, and she was crying so hard that Naomi had no choice but to go get her. Security. Eleanor raised her gloved hand, her diamonds catching the light from the chandelier. We have intruders. The Vanderbilts' annual charity ball brought together the elite of Manhattan. Tickets cost $50,000 a person. Naomi, in her simple navy blue uniform, contrasted starkly with the ball gowns that cost more than her annual salary. "Mommy, why is that lady screaming?" Lily whispered, clutching her doll to her chest. Her natural curls were tied back in 2 braids that Naomi had lovingly done that morning. "Calm down, sweetheart. Let's just get your things and leave," Naomi murmured. But 2 security guards were already blocking her exit. Across the hall, Julian Vanderbilt watched the scene. At 35, the billionaire heir to the Vanderbilt empire was used to the social dramas his mother created. But something about the dignity of that woman and the innocent confusion of the child bothered him. "Julian, dear," Eleanor approached with a venomous smile. "Look at this embarrassing situation. These people have no boundaries." Naomi held her head high as cruel whispers spread through the room. She knew this kind of humiliation. She had grown up as the only black child in elite schools thanks to scholarships. She knew exactly how this story would end. "Ma'am," the security guard approached. "I need to ask you to leave." "Of course," Naomi replied with supernatural calm. "I just came to get something my daughter forgot." "How convenient," Eleanor laughed cruelly. "Just when the richest men in New York are gathered here." That's when Lily, with the brutal honesty of an 8-year-old, looked directly at Eleanor and asked, "Why are you so mean to my mom?" "She works really hard to take care of me." The silence that followed was deafening. Eleanor paled. Julian watched Naomi kneel down to her daughter's level, whispering something that made her smile. There was a natural grace in that movement, an elegance that no amount of money could buy. "Do you guys know how to dance?" Lily asked innocently to the room. "My mom dances beautifully. She taught me classical ballet by watching videos on YouTube." Julian found himself walking toward them before he even realized it. Eleanor tried to hold him back by his arm, but he ignored her completely. "May I have this dance?" he asked Naomi, extending his hand. The entire room froze. 200 people from high society were in absolute shock. The most coveted billionaire in Manhattan was asking the black cleaning lady to dance. Naomi looked at his outstretched hand as if it were a trap. But Lily whispered, "Go, Mom. Show them how beautifully you dance." And that's when something extraordinary happened. Naomi accepted Julian's hand. And the moment the music started, she revealed a classical dance technique that left everyone speechless. She moved like a professional ballerina with an elegance that made Eleanor realize she had completely underestimated the person she was trying to humiliate. The music stopped, but the echo of the perfect dance still reverberated through the hall. Naomi had moved with such impeccable classical technique that even the professional musicians in the orchestra were speechless. When she and Julian parted, 200 people remained in absolute silence. "Impossible," Eleanor whispered, but loud enough to be heard. "Where would a person like her learn to dance like that?" Lily ran to her mother, beaming. "Mom, everyone saw how amazing you are." Naomi hugged her daughter, but her eyes remained fixed on Eleanor. There was something in the Vanderbilt matriarch's expression that she recognized immediately, the same look that had destroyed her dreams 15 years ago. "Julian." Eleanor pulled her son away. "I need to talk to you now." But Julian couldn't take his eyes off Naomi. "You danced like a professional. Where did you study?" The question hit Naomi like a shot. For a moment, the memories threatened to overwhelm her. "A long time ago," she replied simply. "A long time ago?" Eleanor stepped closer, her eyes narrowing like a predator's. "Because I'm sure it would have been impossible for someone in your position to have access to classical ballet training." It was then that Victor Caldwell, renowned dance critic for the New York Times, approached the group. He had watched the performance with growing disbelief. "Excuse me," he said, studying Naomi's face intently. "But that technique? I recognize that style. It's from the Royal Ballet School. I only know one person who danced exactly like that." Naomi's blood ran cold. She grabbed Lily's hand. "We have to go." "Wait," Victor continued, ignoring her obvious discomfort. "You wouldn't be." "No. Impossible. Naomi Richardson died in a car accident 15 years ago." The name hit the room like a bomb. Eleanor paled visibly. Julian frowned, confused. But some of the older people began to whisper among themselves. Naomi Richardson, an elderly woman, approached. "The prodigy who was going to be the first black principal ballerina at the Metropolitan Opera House." Lily looked at her mother, confused. "Mom, why are they talking about a dead person?" Naomi took a deep breath. 15 years running from her past. 15 years hiding behind a new last name. 15 years believing she had escaped. But the past had a cruel way of resurfacing at the most unexpected moments. "Because," Eleanor said in a cold voice of realization, "her mother is not who she says she is." The truth was that Naomi Richardson had been the sensation of New York ballet. At 17, she had been accepted into the Royal Ballet School with a full scholarship. At 20, she was being groomed to become the first black principal dancer in the history of the Metropolitan. Her future was golden, promising, inevitable, until the night Eleanor Vanderbilt showed up in her dressing room. "You have talent," Eleanor had said that distant night. "But talent isn't enough. This world has rules, and one of them is that certain doors don't open for certain people." Naomi had laughed in her face. "My talent speaks louder than your prejudices." "We'll see," Eleanor had replied with a cold smile. A week later, fake intimate photos of Naomi circulated in the media. Accusations of drug involvement came out of nowhere. Sponsors withdrew. The Metropolitan terminated her contract. Within a month, Naomi Richardson was ruined, humiliated, and banned from the world of dance. She had disappeared, taken the surname Williams, and sworn never to set foot on a stage again. She worked as a cleaning lady, a waitress, anything to survive and raise Lily on her own. "So," Eleanor said now, her voice laden with venom disguised as sweetness, "the famous Naomi Richardson. What a coincidence that you should show up here at the ball of the family that helped you so much in the past." Julian looked between the two women, sensing a tension he didn't fully understand. "Mom, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about justice delayed," Eleanor smiled. "Your new friend isn't just a cleaning lady. She's a professional liar who cheated the dance world 15 years ago." Lily squeezed her mother's hand. "Mom, are you okay?" Naomi looked at her daughter, then at Eleanor, and finally at Julian. She had spent 15 years believing she was a victim. But standing in that ballroom, surrounded by the same predators who had destroyed her first life, she realized something that would change everything. She was no longer the naive 20-year-old girl who had been taken by surprise. She was a 32-year-old woman who had survived everything they had tried to do to her. And this time, she would not be caught off guard. "You're right about one thing, Eleanor," Naomi said, her voice taking on a tone that made several people around them stop to listen. "I'm not the person you destroyed 15 years ago." In the 3 days following the dance, Eleanor Vanderbilt worked with the relentless efficiency of someone who had orchestrated the destruction of lives before. She activated her network of contacts like a spider spinning its deadly web. "Dr. Peterson," she said into the phone to Lily's school principal. "I'm concerned about a situation involving one of your students, Lily Williams. I have information that her mother may be involved in some questionable activities." Across town, Naomi was in the small apartment she shared with Lily, but she wasn't crying or hiding as Eleanor had expected. She sat at the kitchen table with icy determination, doing something she had sworn never to do again, using the skills she had developed over 15 years of survival. Lily played in the living room, oblivious to the storm brewing. "Mommy, why are you looking through those old papers?" "Just organizing some things, sweetheart," Naomi replied, carefully studying each document she had kept for years: birth certificates, proof of residence, but mostly detailed medical records and photographs with date stamps that told a very different story from the one Eleanor had spread 15 years ago. The phone rang. It was Ms. Jenkins, assistant principal at Lily's school. "Mrs. Williams, I need to talk to you about a concern that has been brought to our attention. Some influential parents are questioning whether Lily should continue at our institution, considering certain allegations about her past." Naomi took a deep breath. 15 years ago, a call like this would have destroyed her. Now, she just smiled coldly. "Ms. Jenkins, I understand completely. How about we schedule a meeting? I have some information that may clarify these allegations." After hanging up, Naomi pulled out a yellowed business card she had kept in a drawer for years: Daniel Hayes, private investigator and reputation recovery specialist. He had given her that card 5 years ago when he discovered by chance that she was the famous missing Naomi Richardson. Daniel had been an investigative journalist before becoming a private detective. He specialized in cases where powerful people used their influence to destroy innocent lives. When he met Naomi, he offered his help free of charge, but she had refused, not yet ready to face the past. "Daniel," she said when he answered, "it's Naomi. Naomi Richardson. I think it's time to accept your help." 2 hours later, Daniel was sitting in Naomi's kitchen, his eyes shining with the excitement of someone who was finally going to see justice done. "Naomi, I never stopped investigating your case," he said, opening a thick folder. "Eleanor Vanderbilt didn't just destroy you. I found at least 6 other talented women who had their careers ruined by the same woman over the last 20 years. He spread photographs and documents across the table: a classical pianist, an opera soprano, 2 stage actresses, a sculptor, and a writer. All Black or Latina. All with promising careers. All destroyed by the same pattern: fake photos, planted accusations, sponsors pressured." Lily approached the table, curious. "Mom, what are those photos?" "These are stories of brave people, my love," Naomi replied, hugging her daughter. "People who have been hurt, but who may one day see justice done." "But here's the interesting part," Daniel continued. "Eleanor doesn't act alone. She uses a public relations firm that specializes in social crisis management. Basically, they plant false stories and destroy people who threaten the established order." Naomi studied the documents with the same intensity she used to analyze complex musical scores. "And you have proof of this?" "I have financial trails, leaked emails, recordings of some conversations. But I need something more. I need her to expose herself completely." It was then that Naomi smiled for the first time in days. Not a smile of joy, but the icy smile of someone who finally sees the whole picture. "Daniel, what if I told you that Eleanor Vanderbilt is going to try to destroy me again in the next few days? What if I told you that this time, instead of running away, I'm going to let her get very close to success? That would be dangerous if she manages to plant a convincing story." "She won't," Naomi interrupted, her voice filled with a confidence that surprised even her. "Because this time, I'm not the 20-year-old girl who believed that talent was enough. Now I know exactly how she operates." Daniel frowned. What do you have in mind? Naomi took out her phone and showed him a WhatsApp conversation. Eleanor believes I'm just a scared cleaning lady. She has no idea that for the past 15 years, I wasn't just surviving. I was studying. The conversation showed messages from a group of former employees of the Astoria hotel where Naomi worked. But they weren't just cleaning ladies. There were waiters, security guards, receptionists, drivers, invisible people who saw everything and knew all the secrets of the wealthy guests. Do you know what the advantage of being invisible to people like Eleanor is? Naomi asked rhetorically. They do everything in front of you, thinking you don't exist. For 15 years, I cleaned offices, emptied trash cans, organized documents that these people left lying around carelessly. Daniel began to understand. You collected information. I documented everything. Every suspicious conversation I overheard, every compromising document I saw, every email they printed out and threw away without shredding it. Eleanor Vanderbilt thinks she's hunting easy prey. Naomi stood up and went to a closet from which she removed an old shoebox. Inside were flash drives, photographs, printed documents, and even recordings on a small digital recorder. But the truth is, she continued, her eyes shining with an intensity that made Daniel realize he was in the presence of someone far more intelligent and prepared than Eleanor could ever imagine. She's been hunted for years and doesn't even know it. Lily watched her mother with growing admiration. Mom, are you like a secret detective? Something like that, sweetheart. Sometimes when powerful people hurt other people, someone has to collect evidence to show the truth. Daniel picked up one of the flash drives. Naomi, if this is what I think it is. It's exactly what you think it is. Eleanor Vanderbilt is about to discover that underestimating a woman who survived 15 years of forced invisibility was the biggest mistake of her life. The next morning, Eleanor Vanderbilt woke up with a sense of impending victory. She had spent the night coordinating the final blow against Naomi, a story planted in New York's leading newspaper, alleging that the fake ballerina was emotionally exploiting a naive billionaire to get money. Julian will see what a manipulative woman she is, she muttered to herself, dialing the reporter she had bribed. But when the phone rang, the voice on the other end was tense. Mrs. Vanderbilt, we have a problem. Someone leaked information about our agreement, and there's something else. Compromising documents about other women you helped remove from certain positions. It's all in the hands of the Times. The stories are out in 2 hours. Across town, Naomi was in Daniel Hayes's apartment, surrounded by journalists, civil rights activists, and lawyers. She was no longer the frightened cleaning lady. She was the center of a meticulously planned operation that was about to expose one of New York's most powerful families. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel announced, I present to you not only Naomi Richardson, one of the most talented classical ballerinas of her generation, but also the woman who has systematically documented 15 years of abuse of power by the Vanderbilt family. Julian arrived at Naomi's apartment just as the journalists began broadcasting live. He had received an urgent message from her, if you want to know the truth about your mother, come now. Naomi, what's going on? He asked, seeing the cameras. You're about to find out who your mother really is, she replied, handing him a tablet, and why she destroyed not only my life, but the lives of at least 6 other talented women over the past 20 years. The first pieces of evidence appeared on the screen, recordings of Eleanor instructing journalists to plant false stories, bank transfers to public relations firms specializing in destroying reputations, emails detailing how to remove undesirable elements from the New York cultural scene. Julian watched in growing horror as a recording of his mother played. These people need to understand their place. When they try to rise above their station, someone needs to remind them of reality. My God, he whispered. She really did it. Lily was at school when it all began to unfold, shielded from the media storm her mother had carefully orchestrated. Naomi had made sure her daughter was safe before detonating the bomb that would destroy the Vanderbilt empire. At the Astoria Hotel, Eleanor was in her presidential suite when she heard her own voice broadcast nationally. A person like her should never have access to our world. It's a matter of maintaining the natural order of things. She tried to call her lawyers, but the line was jammed. She tried to contact allied journalists, but they had already switched sides. In a matter of hours, Eleanor Vanderbilt went from respected matriarch to social pariah. The phone rang. It was Julian. "Mom, you need to explain these recordings." "Julian, dear, you don't understand. I did this to protect our family, our legacy." "You did it out of pure cruelty," he interrupted, his voice cold. "And now you have to face the consequences." On social media, the hashtag Justice for Naomi became a worldwide trend. Videos of her dancing at the prom circulated with millions of views. The contrast between her natural grace and Eleanor's cruelty created a powerful narrative that captured the public imagination. Daniel Hayes appeared on television with a folder full of evidence. Eleanor Vanderbilt used her influence to systematically destroy the careers of talented women, especially Black and Latina women, who threatened what she considered the natural order of the arts in New York. Companies began canceling contracts with the Vanderbilt Foundation. Museums removed plaques bearing the family name. The Metropolitan Opera House announced an investigation into past discriminatory practices. Eleanor attempted one last desperate move, appearing on a television interview. "These accusations are absurd. I have always supported diversity in the arts." But Naomi was prepared for that, too. During the live broadcast, Daniel played a recording from just 6 months earlier, Eleanor telling a donor that certain types of people were invading spaces that don't naturally belong to them. The interview was a total disaster. Eleanor stammered, contradicted herself, and finally walked out of the studio when the host played more evidence. That night, Julian went to Naomi's apartment. Lily was doing her homework at the kitchen table, oblivious to the fact that her mother had just taken down one of the most powerful families in America. "Naomi," Julian said, "I need to apologize for my mother, for my family, for everything you've been through." "You don't need to apologize for someone else's crimes," she replied. "But you do need to decide what kind of man you want to be from now on." Lily looked at them. "Mom, why are there so many people talking about you on television?" "Because sometimes, sweetheart, when powerful people hurt other people, someone has to tell the truth. And today was our day to tell the truth." Across town, Eleanor was alone in her mansion. Employees had quit. Friends had stopped answering her calls, and the foundation's board had voted for her immediate removal. She looked out the window at the city she had once ruled and realized she had completely underestimated Naomi Williams. The woman she had considered nothing more than a frightened cleaning lady had spent 15 years gathering evidence and building a network of allies that was now destroying her completely. Eleanor picked up the phone to try one last call to Julian, but he didn't answer. For 15 years, she had used her power to silence voices she deemed inappropriate. Now, finally, it was her own voice that was being silenced by the weight of her own actions. The downfall of Eleanor Vanderbilt serves as a stark reminder that prejudice and the abuse of power, no matter how deeply entrenched, will eventually be brought to light. Naomi Richardson's journey from a silenced prodigy to a beacon of justice demonstrates the extraordinary strength that can arise from adversity. By choosing to confront her oppressor with truth and integrity, she not only reclaimed her own life but also paved the way for a more equitable world in the arts. Her legacy is a testament to the enduring power of talent, perseverance, and the courage to speak truth to power, proving that true grace and influence come not from birthright, but from character.